If you and your spouse feel more like roommates than husband and wife, don't comfort yourself with, well, at least we're not fighting. You can share the same house, a schedule, even a bed, and still slowly stop sharing your life. You stop sharing your heart. That's the danger of the roommate phase, my friend. The distance grows quietly until it starts feeling like it's normal. And most couples never notice exactly how they got there. So let us show you what causes that drift. And I'm going to share 4 intentional ways to start reconnecting with your spouse to build back that passion, that flicker, that romance, that desire in your marriage. So let's have this conversation. Hello and welcome back to the show. I am Dorian and this is Not Easily Broken. You know, my friend, the roommate phase can creep up on you so fast that it hits you before you even recognize it. And this usually doesn't happen because of one huge moment. It happens through hundreds of small things that is being neglected, that you're not paying attention to. You're not praying. You're not seeking God. You're not loving upon each other. There are just so many things that create these kind of, issues in the marriage. And there is a pattern, and I called it the covenant drift. Now, the covenant drift is the slow process where a husband and a wife stop intentionally pursuing each other and start simply coexisting together. In other words, you're not present and you're not in the moment. You're there, but you're not really showing up. You know what I'm saying? It is not one big decision that got you there. It is the hundreds of small things that you have neglected. You're not hugging each other anymore. You're not kissing each other anymore. You stop paying attention to each other. You stop asking questions. You forget to ask, how are you doing? You stop praying, as I said earlier. God is not at the center of your marriage anymore. And over time, those small moments of disconnection, it stock up. Yes, until the distance feels normal. You become numb to the reality that you're not really moving towards each other. But I want to tell you something today. I want to share this with you. You see, my friend, normal does not mean healthy, and familiar does not mean okay. And I want you to watch this. Watch this. Here is how the covenant drift actually begins. I want you to think back when you were dating, right? You and your spouse used to always up in each other's face. You remember when you were dating, in the dating phase of the relationship, you asked all the questions, you were leaning in and you spent hours on the phone, or you would sit down at dinner and you talk for hours. You know what I mean? You listen to each other. Your body language is saying that I am there, I am present, I'm in the moment. You're showing interest in each other. You make time for each other. You pursue and you chase the person that you love. You are so involved. God is asking what happened. And I am asking what happened. Can I share it with you? My wife and I have been married for 32 years, and we know what it feels like to be drifting in that space. And we have to get busy. We have to go out, or sometimes we sit down and we check the pulse of our marriage so that we don't flatline. That's the reality of many marriages today. And then all of a sudden, you get married. And somewhere between the wedding day and the thousands of times spent together, you stop being curious. And your curiosity, it turns to assumption. And you now start to assume that your spouse is okay. You stop asking questions such as, how are you doing? How is your heart? How are you feeling? You assume you already know. No, you don't. I've often maintained that when you get married, you marry 4 people. The person you date, the person you court, the person you marry, and the person they're going to become because of marrying you. Can you honestly say that your spouse is better off because of you? Are you the kind of spouse you would love coming home to? Are you the kind of spouse your spouse want to come home to? In Proverbs chapter 5 and verse I believe 18 and verse 19, right? It says something that is very unique and very distinctively speaking to husbands. It says, may your fountain be blessed, and may you rejoice in the wife of your youth. May you ever be intoxicated with her love. You see, the word intoxicated is intentional. You know, it describes someone who is present, someone who is fully engaged, and someone who is fully captivated. And for the wife, you have got to pay attention to your husband. You have to show appreciation to him. You have to let him know that you love and you desire him. Add value to his life daily. Hello? You see, my friend, the roommate phase begins the moment both of you guys stop being intoxicated and captivated by each other. But here is what most couples miss. You see, the opposite of intimacy, it is not conflict. The opposite of intimacy is indifference. Two people can share the same house. You can share the same calendar. You can have the same last name and still be strangers to each other's hearts. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that. And I have a name for it. You know what I called it? I called this the proximity trap. The proximity trap is when couples confuse being physically near each other with being emotionally connected to each other. Can I talk to you? I want to help you with this. You see, my friend, you are in the same room, in the same space, but you are on two different planets. I want you to think about this for a moment. Two people are sitting on the sofa. You're sitting on the couch. One is on Instagram. One is on TikTok. One is, or if I should say, Netflix is running in the background. And 4 hours later, 4 hours passed and not one real word was exchanged. You get engraved or you get lost in scrolling. In Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 and verse 10, it tells us that two are better than one. Yes, two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either one of them falls down, one can help the other up. Now, I want you to pay attention to what I just said. That is the Bible. That is the word of God telling us that two are better than one. It takes two people to get married, and it's going to take two people to build it right. But here is the key. Two people together can actually be in the same space and you're not really together. And so two people have to actually be engaged, connecting, bonding, fusing, syncopating, synchronizing, creating a rhythm together to catch each other when they fall. Hello? You cannot catch someone you are not paying attention to. You cannot catch someone if you're not close and together. And my friend, if you are in a season of your marriage, because we were in seasons like that where we were together but not together, if you know what I mean. And if you're going through marital problems and you're feeling overwhelmed, you're struggling, you are frustrated, and you have gone to therapy and you have done this and you've done other things and things doesn't seem to be working, I want to introduce you to our marriage makeover coaching program. It is a framework that my wife and I have been using over the last 29 years of our marriage, and we have helped countless people to walk through the journey of building a better marriage with this framework. And I want you to click the link in the description, and you can book a free consultation with us to learn more, or if you are ready to dive into getting better at loving and caring for each other, then you can click the link and get started. All right, the link is in the description. Let's continue the conversation. But here's the good news that I want to share with you. And I know you need to hear this. If disconnection happened gradually, then reconnection can happen intentionally. The Bible tells us in Songs of Solomon, chapter 5 and verse 2, it says that I sleep, but my heart is awake. Listen, my beloved is knocking. Listen, it says, listen, my beloved is knocking. That verse is a picture of a marriage where Connection had grown quiet. Connection had drifted. The both of you guys are not on the same page anymore, and you're knocking at each other's heart. You got to knock again. Somebody have to take the initiative and say, I am going to knock. Reconciliation starts with a knock. Someone has to go first. Someone has to choose to do differently. And I want to challenge you today. Let it be you. The Bible tells us in Mark chapter 10 and verse 9, it says that what God has joined together, let no man separate. The word separate, it means to rip. It means to tear. The enemy wants to kill your marriage. He wants to destroy your marriage. He wants to destroy the bond. He wants to destroy the connection. That includes the slow, quiet drift of neglect and distraction. Oh yes, that's what he's trying to do. God designed for marriage was never to be two people living together, just coexisting together. No, he designed a covenant for connection, for oneness. So, my friend, here are 4 things that you can do this week to start moving from roommate phase, my friend, to partnership. Step number 1, what you need to do is this. Ask one real question every day. That's it. Ask one real question every day. Ask your spouse, how can I add value to your life today? What is weighing on you right now? Or you can ask, what's one thing I can do this week to make you feel more loved, more appreciated? Real question, open real conversation. Just talk. Ask God for answers. Pray and ask God to give you discernment and give you answers. Because see, when you're reading the Bible and you're studying and you're putting God first, God is going to give you answers. Step number 2, put the phone down at the dinner table. I cannot begin to tell you how this is a distraction. It is a marriage killer. 1 hour, no screen, just the two of you, present and in the moment. Turn away from the scrolling and start turning towards each other lovingly. I promise you, listen, when you start to build that present, it begins to create intimacy. The beginning of intimacy is connection. And there can be no connection if you're not really present and in the moment. So turn off the stupid phone for at least an hour every evening. And just gleam in each other's eyes. Talk to each other. Pay attention to each other. Show love and affection to each other. I mean, think about this for a moment, right? What is more important to you? Scrolling or loving each other? Think about it. Step number 3, pray together regularly. I know for some of y'all, this is like foreign. But this is the area that the enemy does not even want you to be engaged in. Praying together, adding value to each other's lives, even if it's a short prayer. You know what happens when you pray out loud for your spouse and your spouse hear you calling their name in your mouth before God? It says that couple who pray together stay together. And I believe there's some truth to that. But it's not just praying together. It's praying and taking action. It is praying and loving each other. It is praying and acting in kind, loving, respectful way. You see, my friend, when you put down the screen and you are seeking God, you're praying and you are scheduling moments of prayer time together. You see, that schedule, it continue to break complacency. And step number 4, plan one intentional moment this week. What are you going to do? I'm not talking about a big vacation. I'm not talking about a very expensive date night. You could just go for a walk. You could just serve your spouse her favorite cup of coffee or her favorite tea, a conversation while you're driving in the car, a conversation during dinner time, a conversation in the backyard somewhere, holding hands and walking down the street. It's the intimacy is not built on grand gestures. Intimacy is built in the thousands of ordinary moments with extraordinary intentionality. I've often maintained that extraordinary spouse are two people who just willing to do the extra things, the extra loving, the extra caring, the extra sacrifice, the extra laughter, the extra time spent together. The little extra things, my friend. And my friend, everything that we talked about in this episode, it falls under the C in the grace framework. Yes, the C. That means connect deeply. Of course, God must be first. Every couple must have a strong relationship with God. But this particular issue that we're talking about, loneliness and the roommate phase, let me tell you, intimacy is about connecting emotionally, relationally, vulnerability, and all of that empathy. It is connected to the C, where you have got to connect deeply in the marriage. The Bible talks about becoming one flesh. One flesh is not about physical thing. It's about the emotional also. It's about the spiritual. It's about the relational. Relational equity is so important. Are you adding value to your spouse relationally? Relationally, it's about relationship. It's about relatability. God is still calling you back to the kind of oneness that you desire. And so maybe today you recognize something. Maybe you recognize you have been more focused on coexisting than connecting. It is time to change that. I invite you to keep knocking on your spouse's heart. Knock. They want to open, but you stop knocking. You know, my friend, I really want you to grab a hold of this and take it seriously. Because to really create love, you have to be intentional. It doesn't happen by happenstance. It happens with intentional action that lead to the result that you're looking for. And so, my friend, that's what I want to share with you in this episode. I want to challenge you to go and watch this other video. This is going to help you to build a stronger bond by understanding what this roommate phase is all about. God bless you. Thank you again. And I can't wait to see you in the next one.